Welcome. This is Lita Downs from the Center for Faculty Excellence, and I would like to welcome you to our offering today, Empowering Change Through Appreciative Inquiry. This offering was originally presented at the Walden 2020 National Faculty Meeting in Tampa, Florida. And our presenters are here to talk about the information again today. We have Dr. Barry Sugarman, Dr. Cheryl Christensen, and Dr. Tom Buckowitz. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Tom Buckowitz. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Lita, for the fantastic welcome. We're excited to have everyone here today and an opportunity to share with all of you the direction we're going. And first and foremost, as we all know, Walden University is celebrating 50 years of social change. Yet engaging in or even encouraging change can be quite challenging. And we've heard lots of communication come from our president, Dr. Ulmer, and we have other persons in leadership like Dr. Bill Schultz in the Center for Social Change. All those persons are leading the crusade in the direction we're going. However, while there are many change frameworks discussed in the body of literature, we propose a model today grounded in appreciative inquiry. And that further supports empowering change through lifelong learning, teaching, research, and mentoring. To be our best selves, we need tools and resources to help us deploy our knowledge, skills, and abilities, thus enabling us to model behaviors and attitudes through emotional intelligence and positive leadership that may foster sustainability of the Walden community through the next 50 years and beyond. So with that, we looked at the seminal author David Cooperrider. Back in 1985, the appreciative inquiry theoretical model had been developed. And with that, there's an understanding of a collaborative, strengths-based approach to what gives life to human systems when they function at their best for positive change. So appreciative inquiry involves understanding that human organizing and change at its best is a relational process of inquiry grounded in affirmation and appreciation. So think of appreciative inquiry as a way to engage individuals in self-determined change. This approach to personal change and organizational change is based on the assumption that questions and dialogue about strengths, successes, values, hopes, and dreams are themselves transformational. The theory focus is on what is working instead of what is not working. This affirmative approach assumes that each human system has a positive core, ladies and gentlemen, of strengths to establish a discourse based on positivity and future possibilities. So into the next slide, as faculty, we support student growth and lifelong learning further through teaching, mentoring, and research. We will discuss how the 4 steps of appreciative inquiry, specifically discover, dream, design, and destiny, we can improve readiness for change. Upon completion of this session, participants will be able to apply appreciative inquiry to their individual, group, and organizational settings. More specifically, participants will be able to follow the appreciative inquiry model by clarifying what their focus is, appreciating the best of what is, envisioning what might be, co-constructing what should be, and innovating what will be. So appreciative inquiry, for example, may help us as faculty mentor our doctoral students through the tremendous change experience that many of them characterize through their doctoral degree programs. We hope that faculty will see how a positive approach can help students who are dealing with academic challenges at times can be more effective than a deficit approach. So how can we use this conceptual model for appreciative mentoring? Dr. Cheryl Christensen will begin the discussion.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Tom, for providing the introduction of our appreciative mentoring model, and also for providing the overarching background pertaining to appreciative inquiry. I think it's very important to reinforce how our relationships between students and faculty really do make a difference in outcomes at the student level, and I'm even going to say at the program and university level. When I think back on my graduate experience, I recall the approach with, from the faculty used was really more from a deficit mindset. Back in the day, I think it was a lot more faculty centered as opposed to student centered. Probably a much more emphasis on what I wasn't doing right and not a lot of support in how I could really add value to the strengths that I already brought to school. So when I started teaching, my practice really mirrored my personal experience, which was definitely faculty focused and primarily a deficit approach. Fortunately, I really like to think that I've evolved and that my practice has grown in a positive way so that I am more student focused. I believe that my relationships with students are more open, and I like to think that there's more trust. I feel like students can trust me that when I say I'm going to do something that I'll do it. I feel like they're comfortable, expressing their concerns. So refocusing my mentoring practices so that I incorporate appreciative questioning has helped me and my students. So how do we achieve appreciative mentoring? As Tom noted, our appreciative mentoring model is based on Cooper Ryder's appreciative inquiry model. We are embracing the 4-phase model, including discover, dream, design, and destiny. We're approaching the mentoring process from a strengths-based approach. So let's take a look at the 4 phases and more specifically, questions we can ask our students that align with each of these phases. Doing so can help our students and invite our students to relate to faculty from a position in which they bring value to the relationship. It empowers change in faculty and students. So let's look at how we can engage students from an appreciative perspective versus a deficit perspective. So let's first start at the top of the model with the discover phase. So the discover phase, as Tom noted, is where we appreciate the best of what is. And we invite our students to have a dialogue about what is already going well for them. So firstly, we're going to have a focus on looking at achievements and what contributed to them. Achievements of the students and what the students did or what was within the students' realm that contributed to their achievements. So a few examples of the types of questions we can ask students in this particular discovery phase include the following. Considering your doctoral journey thus far, what are you proudest of achieving? What area have you exceeded? What did you do well that enabled your success? And what else contributed in an important way to your achievement up to this point? These types of questions really enable the student to enables the student to identify the strengths that they have already brought to the process thus far. The other component of the discover phase involves learning and development and specifically capacity building. In this context, we are looking at questioning students about how they have grown thus far and what have they done to build the capacity to get to where they are now. So an example of a type of question we would ask within this context might be, how have your scholarly competencies grown? What helped you most to improve? So the discover questions have a variety of uses, depending on where the student is in their doctoral or even their life journey. One area where I find this particular set of questioning very useful is when I'm working with a student who is struggling. They might have hit a wall. Life got in the way, that they're not sure if they want to continue, or they just don't, they get to a point where they just don't think they have what it takes. So this is just an example of how the discovery questioning might be used to engage with a student who is struggling. So next, Barry is going to talk about the dream phase.
Thank you, Cheryl and Tom. So at the center of the model that you saw on the last slide is this notion of change readiness. And as we think about mentoring our doctoral students, it might be helpful to think about some specific changes that they're going through on their doctoral journey. And one of them is the iterative nature of doctoral level research. Right up until this point, they may have, for both their bachelor's and master's degrees, done very significant research projects, could be a thesis. And the perspective that they had up until this point is, I work really hard on it, I submit it, I get a grade, I'm done with it. And that isn't what the capstone process is like. It isn't what doctoral level research and submitting articles to peer-reviewed journals are like. And there is an attitude of being ready for feedback and taking that feedback and continuously getting better in the work that we do. And so there's this tie-in between this dream phase and the notion of lifelong learning and teaching. So if you think about the change of being ready for the iterative nature of research, and you go into this mentorship relationship, you don't just talk about what's wrong with the lit review today. You talk about how would what you're doing right now relate to a really key breakthrough achievement that you've done in your doc journey. I mean, imagine what that question might open up for the student and help them frame this iterative nature of research in the context of really good things that have happened in their lives. Or what's happening when you envision a scenario that empowers you to succeed? Because many doctoral students don't feel empowered to succeed. In fact, some of them feel pretty beaten down. How do you build on successes that you've had in your career to this point? And what are the positive influences on your effectiveness? And this last one is really key, because as they go through revision after revision, and hopefully not too many of them, it's so important to connect the work that they're doing in the weeds of research today to the dreams that they had that brought them into the program in the first place. And this, by the way, is a link between the discover and the dream phases, right? Because the discover phase helps clarify why they're doing what they're doing from an envisioning, from a dreaming standpoint. And as they go through the process, keeping connected, keeping grounded in those dreams will help build that readiness to go through what is a changed and potentially a difficult process for them. So that's the dream phase. And I think we're going to go back to Tom, who's going to talk about the design phase.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barry. And Cheryl, those are very, very informative explanations and awesome examples to really help us as mentors reframe our thinking and coming up with the appropriate questions to ask from a critical thinking standpoint. So with the next area in the 4D cycle is design. And what we want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is think about co-constructing what should be. And we really are in the environment of teaching and research as we interact with our doctoral students, as Barry and Cheryl had indicated. So what specific objectives would a student then want to set to inspire their best scholarly work? That would be just an awesome question to ask, because it gives an opportunity then for that student to reflect and discern as to where they are and where they want to be. So we look at those specific objectives as a opportunity for students to engage in the term plan and come up with tasks toward term goals that they can interact with their dissertation chair and provide some real specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound or time-sensitive goals for them to achieve week by week throughout each of the quarters along their doctoral journey. So a follow-on question to that in the design phase would be to the student, what additional skills or support do you need for you to most meet those objectives? And one of the fantastic tools that Walden has recently launched as a resource for doctoral students is the Doctoral Research Coach. And with that is just an awesome opportunity for the student to see each of the phases through the process and the resources that are supportive along that way. And that's where the Center for Faculty Research really does a fantastic job with providing resources, as well as many other areas throughout Walden provides resources. So transitioning then to the next area in the 4D cycle, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Christensen to talk about destiny.
Thank you, Tom. Tom and Barry, those were really very insightful discussions and descriptions of the dream and the design components of the 4D model. So I'm going to move forward and talk about the destiny phase of the model. And for me, I think personally, the destiny phase is really the most exciting, particularly as mentors. I really see our mentor role as almost all encompassing in that, you know, we're not only mentoring students to successfully complete their research and write their capstone project. I feel like we're also mentoring them on their next steps once they complete their doctoral journey. So the destiny phase is has an emphasis in innovating what will be. And I mean, that's just exciting. And I also think that's exciting because we can apply the destiny phase to any number of scenarios. We can apply it to students who once again might be struggling as they're working through their dissertation, or they're working through the courses. This is really a natural step beyond the design phase, and actually really dovetails quite well. There are some actions here that really align. Some examples of some questions you might ask students in the destiny phase could include, how might you describe what you commit to accomplishing during the year? This type of question really asks the student to dig a little deeper than just saying, yeah, I'm gonna write this, or I'm gonna complete this component of my dissertation. Rather than pointing out specific steps, we ask them to really describe, what they're committing to. That suggests that there's a much deeper level of engagement, which really helps them better focus on why they're doing what they're doing. Another example of a question might be, how will accomplishing those commitments further support their doctoral journey? So although some of these questions really dovetail with the design questions, we're taking it a step deeper, and we're focusing on the commitment component of it. Another way that I think that the destiny questions are really exciting are on the kind of the mentoring aspect with students. Frequently, I think we find that students come to us and say, I'm not really sure what I want to do when I finish my doctorate. So, that allows us as mentors to have students really think about and inquire upon themselves, what do I want to do? 5 years out, 10 years out, what do I see myself doing? Do I want to be a researcher? Do I want to spend my time publishing? Do I want to be a faculty member somewhere? And so from a different type of perspective, the destiny phase enables us to actually help students not only deal with how they're going to make it through the program, but also engage them in conversations about how they're going to use their degree and their research skills after they graduate 5, 10, 20 years, down the road. And as mentors, I think that's part of our responsibility, is to not only help them with their research skills and their scholarly endeavors, but to help mentor them so that they become so they can design for themselves a future as scholar practitioners. So when in your mentoring engagements, in your mentoring relationships, if you follow the process of our Appreciative Mentoring Choir using the discover, dream, and design and destiny aspects, that's where you lead them to engage in change readiness. And I'm also going to suggest that this process also helps us as mentors and faculty engage in change readiness. So next, we're going to move on to Dr. Sugarman, who's going to really elaborate on why this is so important.
Thank you, Dr. Christensen. If we can flip slides. There we go. So look, you always have to ask the so what question, right? Why does this matter? And in our role as mentors, as faculty, we have an opportunity in forming a particular kind of relationship with our mentees, with our students, a positive relationship that empowers them. I said before, so many of our students don't feel empowered. They don't have self-efficacy in the doctoral process. And particularly given Walden's unique mission, our 50th anniversary, you dial back to what the Turners started 50 years ago, and having a different kind of student at their university, very different from what was seen at the time. And we continue that tradition today, not just now more than ever, but at Walden more than most schools. We need a perspective with our students, with our mentees, that empowers them, so that if we have this kind of relationship, they're not just ready for change, right? They can see the narrative in their journey. They can have a vision for where it's going to take them. And in the end, what you can gift them as a mentor is you can gift them with resilience and grit. Yes, some of your students may come to the game with resilience and they may be gritty, but many to most of our students don't, particularly in the context of a doctoral program, which is unlike anything that they've ever tried to accomplish before. So through the appreciative inquiry-based process, the kind of questions that we've been talking about, you have an opportunity to gift them with resilience and grit, because that's the natural outcome of a positive and empowering mentor and mentee relationship. And that's why this matters. Tom and Cheryl?
Great, thank you so much, Barry. Let's transition to the next steps. And opportunity before us, ladies and gentlemen, we provide some appreciative inquiry resources that really pull from a positive psychology perspective. You can get a little closer to the history, theory, application of appreciative inquiry beyond what we've shared with you today. Also, we're providing a link, and you can hear live Dr. David Cooperrider speaking on appreciative inquiry. It's a short video and just over 4 minutes, so certainly would be worth your time. And also, we always like to point and redirect people back to our own Center for Faculty Excellence for the plethora of resources that are available to help all of us further grow and develop ourselves as mentors, as students, and really directing the path that we need to go. So with that, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And there's a quote from Steve DeShazer, and it reads that problem talk creates problems. Solution talk creates solutions. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, from a psychology standpoint, we look at appreciative inquiry as a life-centric change process. Appreciative inquiry really pays attention to the best in us, not the worst, to our strengths, not our weaknesses, to possibility thinking, not problem thinking. So we leave you today with the understanding that appreciative inquiry is really about what? Affirming a way to embrace human, institutional, and organizational change. Thank you so very much for being with us today. It was our joy presenting this appreciative mentoring model to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.